What's popular YouTube? Another day, another demo. And we're going to visit JKS over on Complexity. Our boy JKS. We're going to look at his first game back here at Blast on Complexity, replacing Oboe as a solid, high ADR rifler, a potential star player on the team, and a player who hasn't had too much time to prep to come into the team. I think they've been, kind of boot camping for like 5 days straight and apparently not getting a lot of sleep and just making sure to get as much work in as possible. And JKS has been quoted on record saying he's tired of losing, basically. He just wants to win tournaments now. I think from the sentiment we've got from a lot of the players on the 100 Thieves, they love their teammates. A whole team loved each other. Amazing. But, many people would argue that JKS is the best player to come out of Australia. For me, that's an undeniable fact. Today we're going to try to get a better idea and understanding of why. And to do that, we got to understand, what is it about JKS, right? I think that's a very interesting question. Let's say you look at JKS as a new person coming into Counter-Strike, and you check out the lineup that he played on, and you look, 100 Thieves player, okay. He's got he's won a trophy here. He's got top 20 back in 2015. Interesting. To come from a lesser region with less of a talent pool. Not less talent necessarily, but just less players playing, so less opportunities to find good talent, if that makes sense. Right? What's the hype about? We go to his complete stats here. We're seeing good stats. Comparatively, he's a pretty decent player. It looks consistent. Overall, some variance in the graph, but for most of his career, he's been playing at a pretty decent level, especially for a team that isn't winning a lot. That's great. But we saw Oboe, right, on Complexity. This guy was putting up big numbers, really, really big numbers, to be honest. Amazing for a rookie. He's got, he's kind of on the same level here for someone who has not even played in, 2015. No one even knew who he was. And he's kind of fitting in really good. Super low DPR stat, which is impressive for a rifler. Impacts up. His overall rating is very high. And, was one of the most consistent riflers on the team, putting up multi-kills, knowing when to play safe. Very smart player. Super potential here. And he left the team because of this whole circumstance with COVID and not feeling comfortable being in Europe. And, we can't speak to exactly, what's going through his mind at the time. But there is a lot of unrest in the world. And, for him to want to go home, that's kind of that's his story to tell, I guess. And he has a tweet longer out. You can read that. But they had to find another rifler who could replace Oboe, who was their moonshot, right? He was the one player who come on. They don't know what they get out of him. And they already know he's already playing very good. He had a lot of vouches on people's players to look out for lists. I think Ali shouted him out. A couple other really, really smart established pro players shouted out Oboe. And so, JKS said big shoes to fill, and that's very fair. This is kind of tough to say. Okay, I've got to play a big tournament, Blast Premier, come in after a week, make sure we're all ready to go. Be compared to Oboe, who was doing really well for Complexity in Blame F's system, which is a pretty meticulous system with a lot of preparation involved, probably a lot of protocols, everything. So, what is it about JKS? What's so special about this guy? Best player in Australia. Is that just it? Well, no. I think he's one of the best riflers in the world. I think he's very impactful. Basically, every kill he gets, he plays 1v1s optimally, virtually every time. He's got great grenades, as we see in great grenades and timings and a feel for the game. You can go and watch the JKS demo on 100 Thieves, what we did on Vertigo, where he played on CT side. And already on Complexity, some of his spots are changing. He's playing now on B on CT side. But we're going to look at the T side in this match back. I'm going to take you over here to the stats page for this map. And we see this is JKS at 13 and 15 here, 84 ADR. Actually, top two highest on ADR. Definitely had impact here. And overall, with his first series back, I'd say did a pretty awesome job. And this is the magic of JKS, right? From the eye test alone, I think you'll be able to see it. He gets so many impact kills. He's Mr. Right Place, Right Time. And yeah, like so far in the 5 maps they played, he's had generally really, really good performances, I would say. Personally, I would frame these as very good performances. This Mirage game versus FaZe was also pretty impressive as well. So he's slotting in well. Blame F is said. He's slotting in well. Everything's going good. So what was the problem with 100 Thieves? Well, the problem with 100 Thieves was that while this team all were on record saying that they loved each other and everything like that, which is great, and I think JKS seems like a great person and a chill dude and everything. He himself, as great of a player as he is, was wasted talent on 100 Thieves for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think he had some overlapping roles with Liaz, who JKS was originally supposed to leave the team, and Liaz was going to be his replacement, but that didn't happen. So then Liaz had to take a backseat in more of a supportive role. And so now you don't have two highlight players that can help each other. You have two players who are looking for the same positions, and one of them taking concessions in different spots. So it'll be really cool to see what Liaz can do on his next team. And number two, you have Gratisfaction, who wasn't a simple level opper, where JKS is a Crims level player, if that makes sense. And maybe Crims is a better player than JKS, but we're talking about that level, right? JKS could be the Electronic to a Simple. He could be the Axel to a Shiro. He could be the Crims to a JW. And there just wasn't that. And even outside of that, in terms of riflers, everybody else was very good, but not a superstar. And JKS himself is not a superstar. I wouldn't characterize him as a superstar. As a superstar in Australia, I'd say a star player internationally, but not the ultra hard carry to take over every single game type player, like Simple, like Ziwu, like Kenny S. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And I don't mean that to be a disparaging comment. I think JKS is almost at the peak of his efficiency in his position on the team, and knows his very, very much self-awareness about the way he plays the game. Clearly has impact all the time, but he's not going to do. He's just not. He'll never do what even Config could do on a rifle in the odd game or two. Right? Just show you a peak that is an all-time. That is an all-time, that could be a consistent top 10 player in the world, something like that. And it's tough when you have Crims, who is so good. And maybe JKS reaches new levels on complexity, and that's what's really interesting, right? What if JKS can get to that actual Crims level, get to top 20 consistently, bring a team to finals and win tournaments alongside some players who maybe can make the most of his talent, and his stats will rise, right? If your team is winning, your stats will go up naturally. If your team is losing a lot, you might have the opportunity to get more kills, but your impact rating will not necessarily go up. Your rating overall will not necessarily go up. Your KD will definitely be worse if you're just if you're losing most of your games. You win every game 16-2, even if you don't get many kills, your deaths per round is still going to be quite low. So his stats are going to come up, and we'll see how much. And we'll see how he works with Poison. We'll see how much he picks up the op himself. We'll see, what teammates do we see him pairing with on sites a lot. And today, we're going to see how he looks on the T side. The T side of Vertigo, which is something I haven't looked at. And to be honest, I haven't looked at JKS's T sides on any map all that much. So one upgrade before we get into the demo that I'd also like to talk about is that Blame F was on HLTV Confirmed, and I'll try to link that in the description below. But he was on HLTV Confirmed and talked about how Oboe had trouble with grenades, and that when they would have executes, Blame F would have to learn all 4 variations of the smokes and flashes, so that Oboe, if he forgot his, he could throw that one, and everybody else knew all of the other ones. And Oboe had a lot of trouble with that. JKS doesn't, and that might be because he's just older, and maybe he's just more comfortable with that. And there's some players, like, no matter how many times you teach them something, there's just going to be some things they're not great with, right? There's some players who they genuinely want to communicate and like listen. But no matter how much you try to drill it into them, like communication is important. Wow, call that player, crossing site. Wow, call for flashes, ask for help, that kind of thing. They can't do it. They're too quiet. They just they just don't hear things. They laser focus on their task at hand, and they can still be great players, but they're always going to be lacking in that regard. And we don't know if that's the case for Obo, still young, but that was something that Blame cited as a problem. We take that over to JKS, who's extremely efficient with his grenades, really smart about the way he uses them, doesn't need any help at all. And also Blame F talked in an interview just yesterday at Blast about how he's such a good player, he doesn't really need a helping hand when it comes to slotting him onto the team. So why don't we just, without wasting any more time, get into this demo and look at JKS playing on the T side of Vertigo in a very close match. And it's actually a match that Vitality come back into and they win. And Complexity only get I guess 3 more rounds in this half, which is actually interesting because they had a pretty good CT side. But I actually thought he played quite well on some of these T rounds, and we'll see if that's true or not, and just take a look at what's going on here. And, oh no, I think I messed up again and just accidentally set the volume. I'll go ahead and do this, and we'll just see if I have set the volume correctly here. Hold on a second. Small technical issue. Sound settings. Okay. Interesting. And so control panel. Here we go. Perfect. Boom. Sorry about that. All right. A lost pistol round. So sorry about that. I should just let this play out. So my setup, I'm still working on it. I don't have professional lighting yet. Okay, I've got a standing lamp here, a Pixar lamp here. I changed the TV background to be white so that it's got more brightness behind me. There's outside is right here, but we're in Denmark, so it's a bit gloomy. We don't have much light coming in. It's always a little bit rainy, a little bit cloudy. That's part of the charm, of course. And yeah, so I turned on all the lights on this side of the room. Light in my bedroom, light in the bathroom, light on the wall over here. And hopefully that can light things a little bit better. Because the last video is a little bit grainy. I set up the mic stand to be a bit higher, making some adjustments. Over the next 2 months while I'm here, while I make myself more at home, I'm going to find more room hacks to make sure that the setup looks as good as it did before. Of course, with the key lights that I had, the Elgato key lights that I purchased from Blast back when we did Blast spring finals, we had gray lights. So those lights are going to be hard to replace, but we'll see what I can get done here while I'm here, and we'll make slight adjustments every day. All right, so here's JKS setting up for his flashbang. High and over, and I don't know if they're executing off this, and Shocks somehow hits him. I think that might have been a boost that Shocks got him off of. We'll move forward. And again, these T sides can be very interesting because when we look at CT sides, sometimes there's a lot of dead time in the rounds, and players take longer to die, sometimes a lot more saving. Sometimes they don't go to your site when we're watching these demos, so sometimes the T sides can be really good. So we got JKS out in front, Mac 10 in hand with the best spawn. Let's see how he approaches this. Looking for the straight-on pre-fire as a player back default, just hoping that he hits the shot. That is something I highly recommend to everybody. When you know the fight is coming, like there, the guy back default didn't peek from that side, but just pre-fire. They know you're there. Don't react anymore. Just literally pre-fire, right? If you're ever feeling worried about like your reaction time or feel like the other team, they're just lasering you every round because they're so quick, start trusting yourself more And look for times where instinctually you know you could get a kill if you just pre-fired. I think that's such a key thing to do. I think you see players do it all the time, but you don't know. It looks like they're being very fast, but in reality, sometimes you catch it. They'll spray a bit early when they hear some footsteps or whatever. Don't be afraid to do that, okay? You play reactionary every single time, you're always going to be one step behind. Got to play prophylactically. And this was very unfortunate for a JKS who clears everything out, gets flanked by shocks. I think there's actually a few rounds like this, and he still manages to have one of the strongest halves on ADR. And we're just, again, paying attention to his role here, how he's being utilized, what BlameF is thinking about him. And it was interesting to see him on CT side get pulled away from the A anchor role. That, to me, shows that Complexity are very confident about their A setup, which is awesome. And it also makes me wonder, you know, how much does JKS like B? How much did he like A in the first place? Because for my money, he played the site very well. He oftentimes didn't have a lot of support on A, which was interesting because, you know, teams are usually like 3-1-1 these days. But I thought he did damn well, to be honest. And a lot of it was because he was getting so much utility damage in every single round with these timed HE grenades that would come and land on this part of the ramp where he is now. So they get an opening kill, and they're looking to hit the upstairs quickly. Bomb will get planted. JKS, are his days numbered. Poor guy. Whenever you're here in this situation, you know you've got a nade signed with your name on it coming your way in a few moments. He's going to flash JKS through the smoke. And the flash is good. See, now he's thinking about the flank, considering how to be useful without overextending in this situation. This is the balance, I think, that's the most telling for players to see how comfortable they are, how good they are, honestly. And we can't be inside the mind of JKS. We can only infer when he's feeling a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit unconfident, or if he's happy he made a choice, even if he died. Always find interesting about that is, like, I don't know what it's like in other games. But like it's really hard to tell in StarCraft if someone's like nervous just off of anything. But in Counter-Strike, you can see like the micro movements of someone's mouse, right? You can really tell if somebody is just like very uncomfortable almost right away. The way they look at things, how they move their mouse, what their spray is like. Are they pulling down too much? Like so many instant tells to see how someone's doing. All right. Boosting everybody. What rank you want, he says. Oh, it's actually him to go up. RPK, okay. Never mind. They try to go for it. No luck. No luck. Only a couple more rounds this half. B lurking once again. Willing to take the risks here, not just holding back. Looking to get info, looking for a fight. You know, that's good. There is a certain amount of stuff that someone goes like, BlameF says, you're on a B default this round. And I don't know how much he micromanages to point that out. Yes, I want you to get control of this, or I want you to peek this, or I want you to take a fight here. Or what I'm assuming is he's more like, okay, we're going to B default this round. Let's see if they push anything, and then maybe we go back to something else. And to see JKS really, you know, scour the ramp, clear it out properly, make sure they haven't pushed and be willing to take a fight, I think shows that he trusts himself, which is good. And again, it's about seeing how comfortable you are in a new lineup, in a new situation, how much you're playing to play properly versus how much you're playing to just stay alive. One has no impact, one has impact. One's higher risk, but one actually wins you the game, right? Okay, so here the op shot, the trade here. It's good. He's going to keep attention on the fact that there was an op just there. Sliding forward into some grenades. Mollying back at default. Flash high right. Player behind him. They're going to kind of swing together. A nice kill from JKS. Looking for another great headshot onto RPK, and that could be the short shelf player, but he knows actually that there was an op there. So Ziwu is going to look up, spot that name tag, and oh my god, just beautiful. Actually, Ziwu gets caught off in the Molotov, and JKS Ah, no one's peeked. No one's walked out. So he's going to assume that it's the A ramp. And it looks like it is. He was correct about this. Playing to try not to take any damage here. 29 HP. And Shocks wins the duel. But goddamn, did that come close. Some really good trades. And that's, I feel like that is such a good round to encapsulate what JKS means to me, right? He's a guy who's like, he's playing these situations very optimally. He's not extremely flashy. He's not like throwing crazy fakes or coming up with insane gimmicks or whatever. He's going to punish you if you make a mistake, and he's going to be in a good spot to be impactful, and he's probably going to hit his shot, right? I think this kind of like he's kind of just like he's always making sure those three things hit. Everything else is a bonus. Like if it's a crazy shot, he can do that. It's going to make a super like insane atypical play. He might do that. But most of the time, he's going to be Mr. Reliable, and I think that's why he's so damn good. I think he's a great player to learn from demo-wise. Kind of very relatable to somebody who just wants to... someone who might watch this channel, right? I feel like an analytical mind would be attracted to the style of gameplay that JKS has. He's thinking about things in a very percentages-based way. He's thinking about things about like, you know, how to maximize efficiency. He's got the right balance of take risks, but don't try to take everything into your own hands. And we can see he's kind of in different spots in these different rounds. Right now, setting up on A, again, after making sure no one's pushed B. And a molly for this tucked in corner in front of the short shelf. And throwing supportive grenades. And he's all the way in the back here, you know? So not just throwing him in to go in first. I'm trying to respect him as a strong rifler that can come through for the refrags. Really great to have someone like Config on the team with so much energy, so much hype, that will be willing to think about going in first. And Ziwu has one hell of a round here from the short shelf. So now again, got the same grenades to stop any pushes or discourage any pushes. And we'll see if he takes any more liberties this round. One of my questions would be, when does the round come back to him? Sometimes the B guy, the reason you throw all these nades and clear this out, no matter what you do, is so that the other team is conditioned into not knowing when you're going to use those nades to actually do something. But you throw these nades, you peek B, clear things out, and if you don't see anyone over and over again, this will allow you to, in the future, come B when you want to. Right? It's about these defaults. They're about washing the dishes right after you ate. Do you know what I'm saying? If you wash the dishes the next day, it's harder to wash the dishes. Okay, it's obvious. You got to sit there with your power soaker washing these dishes, making tons of noise. But if you wash the dishes every round, this is a terrible analogy, no one's going to notice. Oh my god, RPK beats him out again. And they were going towards B this time. Oh, it was one with Ziwu. Okay, so they pulled that off. God, that was a horrible analogy. What am I trying to say? There's too much grime on the plates if you don't clean them constantly. That's what I'm trying to say, okay? So, JKS here, he's here to scrub down these B stairs to make his own job easier when it does come to taking B. Horrible analogy. One of my worst. One of my worst for sure. Let me just make sure I'm on the right scene here. I'd be furious if I... Okay, I am. Good, good. 12 and we can see what we can do. No, there are better maps. There are better maps that we could have looked at, actually. But especially, this is a guy I rate highly on CT sides. You know, whereas like, let's say Issa, for example. I would look at a T side instantly. His T sides are crazy. But JKS, when I first think of JKS, I think he's so suited to CT sides. But here's one where I felt like I saw that almost ace attempt, and he almost clutched it. I was like, I want to watch the rest of it to see how well he was playing, to see if he got unlucky at all. RPK has been giving it to him every round. Coming into B, he's shot him down 3 times now. Oh, and I think that's the last round that they win. JKS gets mowed down by the CZ. And let's see. I mean, eventually, I want to build up basically a glossary of spots and have some context for every single position that every single player plays, right? I mean, if we're going to do a demo every single day, why wouldn't we aim to... Oh, wait, 14 rounds. Was I looking at the wrong game? Maybe they do win this. I don't remember. That's my mistake. Okay, that's how you trade. Runs out quick. I mean, if we're going to do a demo every single day, at some point, I want to have a demo on every single player, on every single spot, on every single team they played, on every single game in history, eventually. I love this format because we can never run out of ideas. We can just keep going forever. 1/2 every single day. If you're watching these videos every single day, you're going to be able to shut up all your friends. I think they know anything about Counter-Strike. You have watched a demo on every single player, on every single position, on every single map, on every single team that they played in their career. It doesn't get more in-depth than that. We might have some exciting news for this channel coming up as well. Yes, with a quick peek out. See if he can squeeze water from stone. What a shot. Misuda. He's cheese. 30 HP for JKS. A bullet away from death. Thinking about getting the bomb down and B. Oh my god, a quick adjustment. 4 frags. Holy smokes, he actually brought this close so many times, and Zhu has to steal it away. Oh my god. What a good try. Okay, this is a bit more exciting than I thought. 2 almost ace clutch. Well, not ace clutches. 1v1vx's with aces. Damn. I know, look at it, like, I guess a few times they've gone B, RPK has just one bulleted him when RPK wasn't even, like, on his screen. He was just so ready. Definitely can't sleep on Le Tonk. The Fire Fist. See if you can bring the Fury. Finds the right angle to clear. See how that flash, just that random flash can be so good to displace you, right? Everyone's so ready, comfortable holding an angle, and a flash that you even have to dodge just changes the whole round. They don't want to fight anymore. They're not willing to hunt down the guy on default. They just actually reset. Even if the flashes are not always 100% effective, it can be really helpful to throw them, to slow things down, to discourage. You can see the effect that it has. Especially when someone has a gun like a Deagle or an AWP, where you feel like you really need to get posted up and chill and be really prepared. So like flashes, you got yourself whipping back and forth, and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. See JKS looking for a peek from this triple, and he does grab that frag. Okay, they trade out effectively, looking to get onto the site, and it's all about Misuda, who has been also playing very well. Everyone's like, Misuda 0 and 18, please watch. But now Misuda, he's going off. We should watch a Misuda playing well demo maybe. That'd be sweet if I paid more attention to him, because then I have more context. I just not sure I ever rated Misuda, I'll be honest. Like I guess I slept on him. So I don't know how you guys feel about him. Actually, I don't know if there's probably not gonna be that many people at this point in the demo, but who's your favorite player? That'd be a question I'd like an answer to. Like, who's just your favorite player to watch right now? And tell me why. I have so many. My list is just always changing because there's just so much to do with recency and form. Like I don't really like, I don't like cheering for a player that's out of form, that's not really, you're not sure if they're ever going to really pick it back up. You don't know how much they care, whatever. Like it's like I always like Flush is probably my all-time favorite player. So I feel like when I watch his demos, like nothing but gold, like in every single demo. I'm just like, man, this guy is just, on another level. But it's like sometimes I swear it's just like he doesn't even care. It feels like, anyways. All right, he stops that shot. And there's a situation where JKS, he could have been pre-firing this, but I think he saw a shadow, so that might have helped. Of course, he's watching the outside of the smoke in case the push-through comes from, not just the middle of it. And, oh man, he comes close. It's actually going to be a defuse here for Shocks, who's been quite good on the CT side in this last quarter. And now, just trying to secure OT if possible. 2-on-3. Scavenging these angles. I don't know if that flash was any good. I think this is the spot. We were actually listening to comms, and we heard, I think it was config saying, or blame F or config saying there was one short shelf, and then there wasn't. And then they clear it out. And it was like all clean the whole time. And then they put the bomb down. And JKS will sit on default. One of the braver things you can do. We don't see an op potentially here, but you could see him getting sprayed down. The risk he takes is, of course, if a nade lands on default because everyone's got a lineup. But, yeah. He's just going to try to fight the A ramp on this off angle. And now in what is going to be a 1v2 attempt, he cannot win. Shocks out duels him. RPK has won a lot of duels versus him as well. And Vitality will win the game. An interesting demo. Not quite as amazing as that. In my opinion, that CD side demo when we saw him play on Vertigo, that was peak. I love that. But he looked sick. I mean, he almost got 2 aces, so maybe it would have been an amazing demo if he just got those last 2 kills. But we saw the plays. We see how his mind works. He looks very comfortable. Can you deny that? He looks very comfortable, especially that's his first series with complexity, jet lagged and everything. In the middle of a pandemic, JKS, the Australian import, he's definitely going to make Australia proud. I think he will win trophies with complexity. I think they will be a top 5 team. I think they will be a consistent top 5 team. I would go as far to say is that they would be probably, I don't know if they'll be able to win their first major, but I think that they're now in a position where they could potentially win a major, maybe their next one. I think for Blame F, it'll be a real test for him at the next major, whenever that is. And there's still bigger tournaments to win outside of a major, to be honest. So we'll see what happens next year. But this roster right now, with the level of experience, the level of potential on Poison and Config, and Blame F's consistent stats plus work ethic, plus JKS, who doesn't need any helping hands. I mean, there's just no liabilities on this team. There's just no liabilities on this team. The only thing I can think of is like Config not being a superstar all the time when he could be. Not knowing exactly why that is, but he played one of the most impressive. He had one of the most impressive demos on this channel as well. That cat demo that we did of him. So yeah, nothing but love for JKS. He's not a player I spent a lot of time watching, to be honest. And after our first demo, I want to watch more. And looking forward to seeing what happens today, because he's going to be playing today as well. So appreciate y'all. You can check it out on twitch.tv/BlastTV. That'll be the channel that I'm casting on for the Blast event. And come through, check it out. I'll be casting the second match of the day, which I think will be Complexity versus the winner of, or the loser of Vitality, or the winner of Vitality playing the winner of Complexity. Not FaZe, because they're not in this group. The other team that would be in this group is Big. Complexity Big. All right. Cheers, everybody. Gotta go get my COVID test for the week now. See you guys back here for another demo tomorrow.